Yep, right
so
here.
How to build real speed. Okay. First off, we were saying that if you want to play fast, you train fast. How you fight, how you train is how you fight, right? How you train guitar is how you get to play guitar. Now, some people, like you were saying about the whole metronome thing, the thing with using different metronome settings, like say 200 versus 100, is that it will not change your ability to increase your speed. What it will do is it will increase your ability to be precise when you're playing fast. Personally, my perspective of it is that the double metronome click gives your brain more to connect to, which allows you to play, more accurately because you have more things to compare. The more units of measurement, the more accurate, right? Millimeters are more accurate than centimeters, which are more accurate than meters, right? We go down the chain. So obviously, if I put more steps to measure, the idea of me being correct is going to be more likely, okay? But now when it comes down to actually building speed, it really has come to a couple of factors, and the most important is your muscle memory. Meaning that, like, when you walk, you don't think about walking, okay? You just walk. When you go to play a scale, if I have to sit there and play and say, whatever, a major scale, right? If I had to stop there and think about every time I played a major scale, there's no way that I'm going to ever play fast. First things first is train the motor memory to be able to play without thinking, like you're walking to the bathroom, okay? That's your first step. Now when you got that part out of the way, where you can play the scales, pretty much without looking except for reference, right? When you get to that point, now you can start your speed training. And what speed training is, how I usually do it, is two methods. One is the progressive and one is jumping, okay? So what I usually show people first is the progressive build up and then build down, where you're not using a metronome. Okay? Because again, I don't believe the metronome is natural. A metronome is a tool that should be used sparingly. You should use it once in a while to make sure that your measurements are correct. Okay? That you can play to a meter, so that's not yours. Okay? But at the end of the day, most of your practice should be on your own, without a metronome, without any click. Okay? I'd say no more than 35 to 40% of your practice should be with the metronome when it comes down to actual scale technique and stuff like that. When you're playing songs, you're practicing for something specific. Obviously, a metronome is important. I'm talking specifically about your scale, finger training, okay? So let's just take any kind of drill. We'll take, say, a short minor scale, A minor, okay? Short minor scale, G. Okay? First, you start with playing it a set amount of time. I usually say like a minute, okay? And you play it for a minute straight at a slow pace. Make sure everything is correct. No extra movements. Everything symmetrical, as loose as possible. You want to have that consistent feeling where you can do it the exact same way every single time with the least amount of movement, and this is the key. Okay? The faster you go, the less movements you can make. The shorter the path has to be that you're traveling. Okay? If I constantly pick my hands up off the fretboard like this, when I go into higher speeds, I cannot be making that humongous movement. Okay? So I have to, from the very beginning, from the first initial practices, minimize your movement. Alright, step one. So I start off normal speed, making sure that everything is aligned, I'm using the least amount of movement, least amount of distance. Once I have that set, I'll do that for a specific number of reps, and then I'll start speeding it up. So we'll go, and those should progressively get faster. And that's one type of speed drill, where first you just obviously have to be on the preliminary where you know the scale, you have all your movements are good. Then you're going to go progressively faster, faster, faster until you're going to the point where you know you're making mistakes on purpose. Okay? This is the burnout phase. Then you're going to go backwards and step back down to where you know you're doing correct. So the first step is to get it into your head where it's correct, get the muscles moving in the correct manner. Then you start to build it up, build it up, build it up to the point of failure. This is very important. You want to fail. You want to be burning, and you want it to do it wrong. You want to be going so fast, whatever your speed cap is, because everybody's different at different levels. Whatever your cap is, whatever your maximum is, you want to go a little past that, so you know you're making mistakes. So you know that it hurts and that you're burning out and you're sweating a little bit. Then you step back and you start doing correct again. So what it does is it forces you to learn the correct technique, to then burn the muscle and strengthen the muscle, and then come back to correct technique. So the first thing, the last thing that your memory learns is correct. Okay, the center part is just for the workout. So this is my first speed drill exercise. The next one would be to use multiples, and this is when the metronome comes in. So I would go units of measure, okay, or the rhythm tree we call it, right? So you'd start off with quarter notes, eighth notes, 16th notes, and then back. So same thing, we're stepping up, but this time we're stepping up in multiples of 2. Okay? So for instance, I'll do quarter notes, same scale. Right? So we'll do 2 of these. This is a basic example. Obviously, each individual pattern is going to be a little longer. Okay, so I do the quarter notes for a minute, you know, eighth notes for a minute, 16th notes for a minute, eighth notes for a minute, quarter notes for a minute. So you build up, build up, build up, build up, come down, come down, come down, come down. Always making sure that your beginning of the exercise and the end of the exercise is using as good a form as you can. You know, the least amount of movement, good, you know, symmetry, good posture. I'm not in a good position right now, so don't go by my posture. But the point is, you know, I got beer next to me, I'm a metalhead, take it easy, alright? But the point I'm trying to make is that what's most important is training the motor memory, and those are 2 methods of doing it. You can do that with any scale, any arpeggio. There's 2 concepts. So one would be to progressively get faster and slower, and the one would be to do it in multiples. The first way you do it without a metronome, the second way you do it with the metronome. And when you mix those 2 together, you tend to after a couple of weeks, you'll start to feel a major difference in the way you develop your speed. And also, because when you're actually soloing, there's 2 types of increasing the speed. Because I can, you know, be doing, I'm not going to do technical terms, but the whole point is, like, if you're in the middle of a solo, you can have a speed up and you know, and a slow down, or you can have an immediate step up and an immediate step down. So, for instance, playing a normal, like, a scale run, you know, just 3 octave, right? Right? So you go slow, speed up, you know, slow back down. Or you can have something more symmetrical where it's like, right? Or I'm trying to, I'll do the same thing. Right? Where it's just, you know, eighth, 16ths, boom, right? Immediate shift. So those are the 2 basic ways you go about increasing speed. One is a gradual increase, and one is an immediate change of tempo. And those are 2 separate skills that you have to learn. Okay? So not only a physical skill, but a mental skill. So I would say your speed training should separate those 2.